I think a conservation easement is a tool to allow landowners to get paid for trees they're growing rather than trees only that they're cutting. And that seems to be what mostly we get paid for, is cutting down trees, but getting people paid for growing them or keeping them on their landscape is harder to come up with a tool for that. A registered professional forester can offer a landowner perspective on what their land is valuable for, both ecologically and economically. As a forester, helping landowners consider what might make their land suitable or valuable for a conservation easement, the first thing you have to get a handle on is what are the unique habitat and wildlife features on your property. If you have a 50-year-old second growth Doug fir forest with nothing on it but just a sea of Doug fir, that won't have much value to somebody purchasing an easement. But if you have a couple old growth trees, or a coho stream, or a spotted owl site, or a marbled murrelet nest, those are the hard to quantify economically valuable assets which you are really using to market your property as a conservation property.
When you own a piece of property, there are lots of rights that are associated with it. One of those rights could be the right to build a house, the right to build a barn. There's a right to subdivide into different parcels, the right to mine, the right to run cattle, the right to timber harvest. So what a conservation easement does is it takes one of these sticks out of the bundle of sticks, in this case, the right to subdivide the property. It's effectively removed from the title of the property and held in trust by an organization like North Coast Regional Land Trust.
In addition to a standard timber inventory, often what we try to describe for clients is the unique wildlife and habitat conservation values they might have on their property as well. And typically that comes down to how many large trees per acre do you have? How many trees over a certain age? How many trees that are of a rare species? A bunch of yew trees, for example, or a sugar pine in an area where sugar pines aren't likely. The trick is in finding the suite of opportunities that will allow you to capture that value on your land in a way that you feel good about.
Most of the landowners we've worked with are multi-generation ranch and forest landowners who don't want to see their property split up. They're under intense economic pressures to subdivide. There are inflated property values here, particularly in Humboldt County. And these landowners don't want to see their family ranches subdivided and broken up.
A conservation easement can help there be a standing timber inventory to transfer from one generation to the next. It's counterintuitive, but can decrease the value of their land, which may seem like what you don't want to do, but it allows for lower taxation, which allows the land to be transferred from one generation to the next without having to cut all the trees down to pay for the inheritance tax to transfer the land.
Our land trust works in partnership with private landowners to develop these conservation agreements that help protect the land forever. What I mean by protect is that we feel really strongly that if land is in agricultural production and in working forest, that means it's also protected for wildlife habitat.
One of the most important entities you'll have to be involved with to develop a conservation easement is the land trust itself. They have the dual role of both enforcing the terms of the easement, but also in marketing the easement to an entity which will purchase it for a value which meets your goals as a forest landowner. A land trust that is well connected to the Wildlife Conservation Board or the Save the Redwoods League or some other organization that's likely to purchase an easement, you need to find a land trust which has those connections and can use those to essentially gain the highest return on the investment for the landowner, because what you're giving up is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sell some right that's part of the bundle of property ownership, and you only get to do it once. So having a land trust that can maximize that value is very important. A forester who understands the wide range of economic opportunities out there, as well as ecological ramifications of each, can help a landowner more thoroughly understand the context of their property and understand where their values fit in with the current economic and ecological values that as a society we're surrounded by.